Welcome back, friends. We are working on the Sports Hero project from the YByte Python curriculum available at www.ybyte.in. Previously, we learned about the whole concept of using a set to find out, let's say, unique winners in Wimbledon. We also took a little bit of a detour to kind of compare, let's say, the different data structures, for example, lists, tuples, dictionaries, and sets. Now it's time to move forward to the activity. In this video, I'll start updating my analysis.dat file. Recall the whole purpose of the game is to start with some kind of, let's say, raw data, which is, say, the Wimbledon data over here, analyze it through our Python file, and write the analysis into, let's say, this file called analysis.dat. In fact, we will use three functions to update the analysis.dat file, which we have created previously, which are called print line, which prints a single line into the file, print a table, which will print a table, which is like a list of dictionaries into the file, and finally print a set, which will print the members of a set to the file. So in this video, we will see how I print a single, let's say, line on the file. In fact, the process is actually quite simple. Uh, we have to open the file. However, the important point is that we must use the mode in this case to be A, because A stands for append. The reason is we have already previously opened the file. Now we want to add something to the file. It's like append, just like we add items to a list, kind of like that. Append to this file, and that's why the mode has to be A. Let's see this in action, and then it'll be much more clear. I get back to my code and I start writing this function called, let's say, print line. Um, so I just go and say, well, def say print, let's say, line. And I pass as an argument, let's say, the report line. So basically, like, what is it that I want to print in? That is going to be my report line. Now, like I said, the modus operandi is in fact quite similar. I just go and copy, let's say, this part over here. Uh, However, I must, and this is very important, we will see what happens if we don't follow this. In this case, the mode has to be A, because, like I said, I'm going to be now updating the file. And in fact, and of course, inside the file, I will not be writing analysis results. In fact, I'll be writing in this line, which is the report line. Now, notice there should be no apostrophes around this, because this is like an argument that we are passing. If you put apostrophes, then it becomes like a like a string, and that gets just written as it is. Also notice that I'm intentionally not including the backslash n over here, because I will make that a part of the argument itself. Now, having created this function, in fact, I can now call this function. So I just go and say, well, print, let's say, print line. I'll call it three times, in fact. So I just say print line. Let's just say reporting, reporting for, and I can send the tournament name. In this case, will be Wimbledon, and let's say plus a backslash n. So this is, as I said, we'll bring the backslash n as part of the argument itself, and that will make sure the next line goes to, let's say, the subsequent line goes to the next line, and the file does not look cluttered. Having done this, I will call this function two more times, let's say here. So I just say, well, look, let me tell you the total number of winners here, which is same as saying the total number of tournaments that have happened. Say total winners, and that is nothing but the length of, let's say, the winners list, because remember, winners list contains all the people who have won, including the duplicates. But of course, we are talking of a string over here, so I'll convert this to a string. Otherwise, there'll be a data mismatch error, a type error, and that's not what we want. Having done this, I'll print this once again. I mean, I'll use this line, let's say, once again. Let me do it carefully to, let's say, print the unique winners, because as we know that though there have been many tournaments, but only few people have won, because many people have won multiple times. So I go and say unique winners, and that is of course going to be length of the winners set. Now, what this also shows is that the length command works perfectly fine with set. It in fact tells us the number of items on, let's say, number of members in a set. Before I run my code, however, I would also include the initialize statement over here. Recall, the initialize statement is where the file first gets created, and we use the W mode for that because we are going to create this file for writing. Now when I run this code, you notice that the analysis result starts to form quite nicely. It says analysis results reporting for Wimbledon. Total winners have been 56 and unique winners have been 22. So the analysis data is now being written into the file, and that's just happening because the way we have used these functions. Now, before moving on, I want to make a couple of points. What happens, let's say we do not handle these modes correctly. For example, let's say instead of a over here, which is append, let's say I were to use a w by mistake, which is what I had done earlier. Again, best to understand this by doing. When I now run this piece of code, you see what happens is quite interesting. I get only one line written on the file, which is unique winners. Now this happened because the mode w basically is creating a new file all the time. So I create a new file at the initialize. I then create a new file at the tournament name and write it in there. The last thing, and I keep doing this. The last line is all I see, which is basically saying, well, unique winners is 22 because it's a new file that's been created and all the other data has been lost. Obviously, we do not want this. And that's why we put an A over here, which is append. Now, a question that comes up and you may have in your mind, what happened if I used an A over here? Let's say when I first initialize, if I notice this as part of the initialize function, what would happen if I used an A as the mode initially? And that's also quite interesting. Best is to do these things and understand for ourselves. Remember, the file right now contain unique winners. When I run, let's say, my analysis over now, when I look at my file, notice what happened. The file still has this unique winners 22 and then analysis results. The reason is when I first created the file, I went in the mode append. So append means open the file and add on to whatever is there. So it did not create a new file over there. And hence I see the previous, let's say, prints still available. We do not want this. Hence, clearly, when I first create the file, the mode has to be W. And when I subsequently edit the file, add more information to it, the mode has to be A. Very, very logical. Think through this and it makes a lot of sense. I hope this has been clear to you. As we just saw in an example, when we apply concepts to real problems, the results of our actions become more vivid. The whole understanding of the concept is that much more, let's say, lively and also that much more, let's say, sticky. That is how we learn Python programming at Ybyte. Look at our website, www.ybyte.in. You will see many, many, many such activities. Take care. Thank you so much. Bye bye.